Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. I feel like on this channel, there's a lot of pointing out of foolishness by the far left and all of the things that are inconsistent in between their message and their actions. And I really think that as a culture, we have to stop allowing them to shame us or cancel us or threaten us with, closing our bank accounts if we say something that the federal government doesn't agree with. Now, I appreciate that it's a massive, massive conspiracy at the highest levels and an orchestrated plan to try and destroy the middle class and turn the Western world into what it looked like before the Renaissance. And I just feel like I've been holding back, and it's probably time that I should say it. So I'm going to show you a great example of the foolishness that comes out of the mouth of the left that nobody calls them out on, which I can't understand why they wouldn't do that. I guess I'll have to do it. And before I get into it, I would encourage you to like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. Liking and commenting gets me a lot of help in the algorithm, and I am completely and utterly, my channel is totally and 100% being censored by the federal government. Over the summer, the Liberal Party was trying desperately to win over voters, especially in Toronto. And I did a video on the announcement that came out of this building that you'll see in a second. Now, Christy Freeland was desperate to make the Toronto vote for the Liberal and convince them that they're solving all the problems and all the rest of it. And then watching that video, watching the intro to that video, to that press conference is the inspiration for this type of coverage that I'm going to add to the stuff that I already cover. So I'm going to let you hear one of the opening platitudes that we hear from the far left where we talk about unceded territory, which is a completely ridiculous statement. All territory is unceded. Nobody ever just says, hey, or here, you can have this. But of course, when you're dealing with the far left, I think they want sentiments to matter, but not words. Anyway, let's have a listen.
Well, good morning, everyone. We acknowledge that the land we are gathered on today is a traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that there's more work to be done on our collective journey towards truth and reconciliation, and we are committed to educating ourselves and understanding the truth of our shared history with our Indigenous peoples.
Okay, so you heard him with this standard opening where they say, "Oh, we acknowledge we're on somebody else's land," and which I don't agree. I mean, I get that it used to belong to somebody else. Trust me on that. But to say to yourself that it's unceded, it makes no sense. I mean, it's all unceded. Somebody took it from somebody. The list of First Nations tribes that fight over this different parts of this country. That's why there's always a list, because they've been fighting with each other, unceded, right? So when the Mississaugas of the Credit took it from it was all unceded. It's just a ridiculous way to try and divide us, to try and make it think, to try to create and stir up resentment. But this guy here is building buildings for the third wave of colonialism. The people that are buying these places, the people that are moving into this city, the people that are flowing across the border, they're not European in origin. But nonetheless, they talked about how they have a lot to work on, that there's, truth and reconciliation in the air, and that they, are willing to listen. So, hey, right, if you're sitting in the First Nations, you must think to yourself, well, that's a lot of progress. That's moving the ball right along, and let's sit down and discuss how you can give me back some pieces of property, and we can reconcile, and we can work our way through these centuries-old issues. However, what the land developer says next kind of puts what he said prior in a little bit of shadow, a little bit of question. That the sincerity might not be as genuine as they would like you, the speechwriters would like you to believe. So let's just have a listen to a couple of things that he had to say, and then I'll give you my 2 cents.
Welcome to the KIP District. This is a master plan community proudly developed by Concert Properties. The KIP District currently includes 2 condominium buildings totaling 569 condominium suites, and this 233-suite purpose-built rental apartment building. For our third and final phase of our project here at KIP District, we'll be building a 416-suite condominium and another rental building which will contain 379 suites. Our goal is to launch that project, 2 towers, in sometime in 2025.
Okay, so he opens up by saying that he recognizes there's a problem, that he's on unceded territory, and then he announces that they have completed approximately 800 units on the land, and they are so reconciled with you, they are so concerned about the status and the tradition of the unceded territory that they're going to, in fact, build another 700 units on the exact same property. So when they say to you that they know that they have a lot to work on and they're looking forward to this, that, and the other, it seems a little bit not true when you look at the fact that they built 1,500 permanent, or are going to come somewhere around the area of 1,500 condominiums and rentals for people on this very same territory. So what used to be unceded territory has all of a sudden become property, has all of a sudden become under the ownership of this particular group and flanked by a Liberal MP minister on either side, right? So I'm a little curious as to how the far left reconciles that sort of contradiction. On the one hand, you say that you acknowledge that it's not your property, but on the other hand, you say that you're going to build permanent structures made of steel and concrete and aluminum and copper. They're going to have driveways they've dug down into the ground. They've poured foundations. There's going to be families living there. They're going to be settling there. Some of them might get married. Some of them might have children. Some of them might move away. Some new ones are coming in. I mean, it's rentals, so you're going to have people coming in and out, in theory, now until for a very, very long time. Now, I understand that you're looking at me, you're probably thinking, Sterling, well, that's obviously the way that's going to work. And if that's obviously the way that it's going to work, why are we mentioning the unceded territory at all? Who told themselves that this was something that was going to make everything flow smoother in our country? Who told themselves that I will just completely and utterly insult the intelligence of every First Nations individual who hears this speech, and everything will be fine. Everything is going to be wonderful. It's all going to work out as long as we say these words. Then nobody can say to us that we're not doing our part to, I don't even know what, reconcile, I suppose, is the word they might use. But I can't see how any, and I know many First Nations individuals are going to say to themselves, yeah, putting a permanent structure on that land is absolutely the way to make us think that you're ready to come back to the table. Does anybody out there think that that's the kind of thing that we should be saying, doing one thing, saying one thing and doing another? Am I the only one that thinks that it makes us look stupid, foolish, ridiculous? That it probably insults the intelligence of so many Canadian people, not just people from the First Nations, but people from all walks of life, of which Toronto has got them all. So there's absolutely no way in the world that you're going to determine which type of individual is going to move into this essentially southern Mississauga apartment complex, and that's what it will be. Massive parking lot, concrete and asphalt for as far as the eye can see. So I just feel like we should stop trying to talk like there's ever going to be a possibility that they're just going to all of a sudden surrender that property back as some sort of, we feel bad, we've come to our senses, or whatever terminology you might like to choose. They're not going to, like when I say they, I mean the powers that be are in no way, shape, or form planning on surrendering that territory back to any of the First Nation tribes that he listed there, or any of the other ones that might be considering in that region. And saying it only makes them look foolish, in my opinion. I just believe that they don't think we're listening. I think that they think that somehow we're going to hear one thing and ignore the other. Unfortunately, I'm not, they can turn me down in the algorithm all they want. I suppose I can't really stop that without having new legislation that protects free speech. But I'm absolutely not going to ignore the glaring transgression in this contradiction. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.